Hello everybody, the iLord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. So I came to an interesting discovery working on our plans for the next show, which by the way will be my 100th video rather on YouTube. And that was that we somehow lost our probe core, which is no good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the dragon. I'm going to get a little bit of science that we forgot. It's not going to be enough, unfortunately, to get us up to level we need, because we need 550 science. But it will get us at least partially to where we want to be. So if we do observe the materials, we get 35 science from that. We'll process it a little bit more. Let's see as well if maybe, that accelerometer's not going to be any help, I reckon. Temperature maybe, though. I guess I just forgot to take it last time. And so we'll transmit that, and we will additionally transmit some other things as well. And then when we're done, once this thing is done being sent, we'll clean our materials bay. As for why this has been the case, I'm not entirely sure on that. I think part of it has to do with the fact that the tech tree did move around a bit. We'll just clean experiments. So yeah, the tech tree did move around just a little bit. And so, that could be part of the issue. But the other issue, of course, is that, we have also run into this. Occasionally it just seems to happen, I have no real explanation for why, but for whatever reason, it does. So, we need some some quick, high quality science in order for us to move on back to what we're doing. And it turns out that we do happen to have such an opportunity just waiting for us. If we go to the tracking station, then you will notice that we have, let me just plug in my mouse for this so I can zoom out. But you'll notice that something that probably should not have happened, at least according to the release notes, did. We got asteroids. And, that may seem like a bad deal, but in reality, it's not really all that bad. Now, there was a Class A object around here that I was going to use. That seems to have disappeared for some reason that's beyond me. I don't know if it's just that that asteroid has gone, because we did do a couple of tests here. Maybe it's just outside of our field of vision, so I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. Maybe one of these guys will pop up pretty soon. We'll track these guys just in case. We want maybe it's a Class C that I was tracking. I thought it was a Class A, but I could be wrong about that. But we'll begin tracking these guys. We want something fairly close that will give us a it'll give us an easy target, because I've made a deal here. Yeah, I must have gone way into the future on this. Well, so much for that. Well, this guy is Class C, and he's set to collide with the Earth, so why don't we try this guy? Because otherwise, we're gonna have a hard time getting this dude. That's really peculiar that my Class C object, or my Class A object, disappeared. But there is a thing that will collide here, so why don't we go with that? And in the interim, we'll get this guy in to an orbit of some kind, our solution for this. Now, Class C should be manageable. I mean, Class A is fairly small, and that's what I originally tested this with. But we should be able to do a Class C just fine. So we have our asteroid grabber here. We're gonna have Bill and Bob go ahead and, do their thing here. And so we want... Okay, so I believe that I've fixed the pitch issues. What seems to have been causing that is maybe the deal here, the rate, but you could see we're getting ourselves launched up, and we are now going to try to intercept our asteroid here, and that's going to be an important thing for us to do, because we want to get in the way of doing this. So I believe here I had mistakenly gone the wrong way, wasted a bit of fuel, and I'm doing a relaunch here just to make sure that we're actually going the right way. The catching up with these things can be a little bit disorienting. So here we are, and we are now getting up into orbit. This is incidentally running at 16 times speed, by the way. This represents about 3 or 4 hours of gameplay, so it's good for us, to work, at a higher speed, just for brevity's sake. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to be going at 180 degrees, and the reason for that is simply because of the fact that we don't want to be going parallel with the asteroid whenever we meet up with it, because by then it'll probably reach its deal. But yeah, so at this point we're looking at, getting ourselves into a decent orbit, and I believe that shouldn't take too long. And then I'm going to do some inclination correction as well, I believe, at this point. Or maybe yeah, I'm doing inclination correction right now, it looks like. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to try to meet up with it midway and then maybe hook onto it and capture it. So at this point I'm just making sure that we're warped in close enough. We want to be about 2 or so weeks away so that we have time in order to make some of these corrections that we need. And of course, I'm going through, and now that I know that this thing's 14 days away, I am going to set this guy up so that we're going to intercept at that time. Because we want to, whenever the asteroid is in range, we'll want to get this guy in as close as possible, and that's actually quite a substantial burn there. It's several hundred meters per second of delta V. This is where it gets kind of tricky because I probably should have waited on this just a little bit. We could have waited, but as it turns out, that may have not been such a good idea. And at any rate, here I am trying to catch up with it, and then I realize somewhere here, like, once I get this barn set up correctly, that our intercept rather is actually on the other side of the planet, and there's a problem with that because in order for this guy to be on the other side of the planet, it has to basically clip through Kerbin. And so we did already kind of screw this up just a little bit, even though I'm doing some fine tuning here, but you can see we'll actually not get close enough here. So I'm just trying to make that correction as much as I can. And at this point I'm running into a lot of problems because I just simply have not planned this out well enough. And I need to meet up with this guy as soon as I can, but it's not really working. What I really should have done at this point is instead of coming in that fast, I probably really should have slowed down in order to get a hold of it, but that's unfortunately a mistake that is not going to be easy to deal with. And I'm coming in so fast over here that even though this guy did come around at the proper time, that was just a bad idea in general. So it is about this time, I believe, that if it's not here, that I realize that there are 2 asteroids captured in orbit, and we have that one there that is going to be interesting to us. And so I decide to go ahead and catch up with it, only to realize that I do not have enough in the way of fuel here. And so this is just me fiddling around with it, trying to catch up, and realizing that, that's not going to work. Because now we've got much less fuel than initially bargained for. Which means I couldn't have captured this thing even if I wanted to. Just because my delta V, if you look at it, is so low. So that's a bit of a problem for us. And, that was on top of, the first time I tried the initial asteroid, the moon actually ended up getting in the way. I almost had a perfect, yeah, see right there? The moon has a habit of ruining everything in terms of your orbit, so I couldn't get as close as I wanted to with that. I actually do get fairly close, but that's not really helping us because we're going to have to be able to get this guy going. Let me just mute Facebook real quick because I thought I'd had that muted already, but I guess I did not. For some reason, it's deciding to report through the speakers here. But we'll go ahead and we'll put that on mute quickly. So at any rate, we're trying our best to catch up with this thing, and there the moon goes again. The moon is getting in the way, and that's really annoying because it's deflecting my angle. And we're still quite far away. If you look at our delta V relative to the target, we're just not going to have enough to catch up with it. And in reality, I should have juggled this in such a way that I wasn't coming in so fast. But that's unfortunately the way the cookie crumbles. So, I'm gonna pass very close by here. And then looks like I'm gonna restart. And again, we've got that moon in the way. But, this isn't looking so good for us. It's, if we wanted to catch this one, we came in a little bit late. And so it's taking a lot in the way of burning in order for us to get this guy down to the proper angle. And that's just really no good for us. Because the fuel consumption is a bit too high here. That is, I almost get it, but then of course this thing is too high up, so I decide I'm just going to go ahead and redesign my my intercept craft. So we're right now going through and landing, and the hope is that maybe I'll at least get something out of this. Maybe I'll land in a nice biome that we haven't been in yet, but we weren't lucky. We landed in the ocean where we have plenty of research already done. So I'm here redesigning, or I just redesigned at this point the intercept craft, and realizing that I might have the opportunity to catch up with this thing because it looked like it was in a circular orbit. I decided I was going to I was going to go ahead and do that real quick. This is actually me launching the old video. I hadn't redesigned it yet, or the old craft rather. And as it turns out, even though I'm in a decent, you know, orbit with it, with some inclination changes necessary, I'm just not going to catch up to it. So, we've already missed two asteroids, one which collided into Kerbin and has presumably broken up in the atmosphere, and the other which, is presently leaving Kerbin's sphere of influence and is going to surprise us just a little bit because what's going to end up happening is that this guy, we're going to get close to it, but not close enough to really do much for us. It's going to be leaving Kerbin's sphere of influence and may come back in later on, but as you can see, that's not really helping us any because it looks like it got totally ejected from Kerbin's orbit. So this is me trying to, as much as I can, to catch up with it before it leaves. And that's turning out not to work all that well either. Because I'm going so fast that, or I will be going so fast that I just won't be able to slow down in time. So there's that problem as well. And the finicky maneuver nodes or intercept nodes aren't really helping matters much. And it probably doesn't help that I missed my maneuver node either. But we'll get on down here, and going to push this thing in towards the target in an attempt to get these guys going. And that is pretty much leaving us with little else. So I decide at this point that maybe the thing for me to do is to try to meet up with this other guy here. But in order to do that, I've learned we need a beefier, more fuel efficient craft. So here we are landing anywhere at this point, deploying the parachutes into a burning jet stream, and I've decided to go ahead and, redesign this craft, as you'll see here. So this is a new version. We've got two engines, two nuclear engines, and then we've also incidentally got two, high power engines as well. High power is rather relative here. There may be high power for the craft, but I'm using the new NASA parts in order to in order to give us a little bit more, a little bit more in the way of, fuel, because we'll need as much of it as we can. This is where Kerbal engineering or flight engineer, it does get a little bit confused. It doesn't like it whenever you've got more, like, an engine turned off. It makes it sad for some reason. But with that in mind, we're able to get our inclination correction going. At least I believe, anyhow. And we are going to try to meet up with it at axis. Once we get circularized and once we have our inclination set properly. So we're going to take advantage of this particular orbit, and we're going to move on in and get ourselves aligned with it to where we're coming towards it, which may or may not be the best idea for us because we're going the opposite direction, so there may be more delta V to bleed off. But then again, once we increase this guy's orbit out, it won't really be that big of a deal. So we know that there's, some amount of waiting to do, and I'm being a little bit more conservative this time. I'm only orbiting in like 4-day increments, or at least I believe that's what I'm doing here, so that we rendezvous much more quickly with this guy. And that is going to be, our biggest concern right now is getting to the point to where when we rendezvous, we'll meet up with it. But unfortunately, even that has problems. That's not the easiest thing to get going, because here I forget that this orbit is actually going to take 8 days instead of 4, which means that we are going to be spending quite the amount of time in orbit catching up with this dude. We're doing some kind of burn here. I'm not exactly sure what. I think maybe I'm circularizing, or I'm lowering my apses. Maybe I'm just trying to get this guy aligned here. Oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm lowering my orbital period to 4 days. That way we get a more fine-tuned orbit. So yeah, we're now going to meet up with this dude just a little bit. Wait for it to get as close as possible. And not hit too much in the way of time acceleration. I believe it's at this point that I decide that I'm going to try to meet up with it. But that's not as easy as it looks. It's again, I have to reiterate the fact that this has taken several hours, just because I'm not familiar enough with the orbital mechanics. Or there goes the guy with the lawnmower again. But it's not going to be very easy to do here because we're pretty much dependent on this guy coming in at a reasonable speed. And at this point, I'm just waiting for this dude here to get a little bit closer. Because once we get close enough, we can zoom towards it. And so here I am setting up some maneuvers. And trying to get in fairly closely. And we are now in the process of getting as close to it as we can. We're going almost 3 kilometers per second relative to the sky. And so I'm trying to lower or, intercept down with it. And there's a point to where this, the maneuver node system, or the orbital trajectory system, does not plot this correctly. The reason being that it gets confused. So here I am trying, albeit in vain, to get as close as I can to it. And this actually would not have been too bad of a deal here, except KSP can't decide. And I actually should have kept that. But KSP could not decide where it was I was supposed to be. But I was pretty close at this point, so I was trying to figure out a way to work with what I had. And that's not the easiest thing to do. In fact, it's probably one of the least easy things for us to do in this case. But there's really not much you can do about that. It's at this point it's trial and error. And what I should have done is I should have kept my relative speed down, because instead of, zooming towards it, expending a lot of fuel, I could have done the opposite thing and gotten my my velocity down with respect to it. It would have been a whole lot easier in the long run. And we've got the fact that the sky is. It may or may not. It doesn't look like it's going to leave the Kerbin system, but it does. These things do have a habit of, telling you that they're captured and then maybe not being captured. And so at this point, I've discovered, I'm not leaving any fuel left for rendezvous. And I'm working with the trial and error thing again. And at some point, I figure it's best for me to stop worrying so much about getting the close approach distance absolutely correct. Because we're now in this situation to where we want to move in towards this thing. But unfortunately, that's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, we're getting our intercept distance down really close here, but our delta V, if you look at engineer, is dropping quite rapidly, and at some point, you have to think if maybe you're not overdoing it just a little bit. And so, at this point, I'm going to try to get in orbit with it somehow. I gave up on that particular orbit there. And I was going to see if maybe I can't get closer. And now I'm using a ton of maneuver nodes here to try to fine-tune that close approach distance. With the problem being that when you do that, you don't exactly get your maneuver nodes done perfectly. And because of that, you have a harder time adjusting. And so at this point, I've pretty much decided to go in and get this guy as close as I can with another couple maneuver nodes, and that's more or less going to be the plan here, because that is certainly the most difficult part, is getting these guys aligned. Especially since at this point small changes in your trajectory will result in very large changes in your intercept. And here my problem is that you don't get that particular node unless you're in orbital mode, and then I sort of forgot about it, and so I ended up throwing my orbit down quite a bit, which is not the ideal situation here. There's going to be, in the next couple of minutes, a lot of me reloading the quick save, trying to figure out exactly what has gone wrong, and occasionally forgetting to use the right mode here. And that is not the best deal there. If we didn't have the quick save system, this would probably be an insanely difficult task. At least from my standpoint. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to get this guy as close by as it needs to be. And it's taking a lot of trial and error. Because the things we've rendezvoused with, if we miss them, then we usually get another shot. And to be fair, we get another shot with this guy too, because it's apparently been captured by Kerbin. But that having been said, I believe I finally figure it out here that I just want to keep these guys as moving as slowly as possible here and make sure that we're always pointing towards this thing. There we go. That is stacking up to be quite the orbit here. Now the question is if we can avoid running into this thing. So wow, it's been 117 days doing that. More than that actually, because I had the other ship as well. We'll get old Mr. Grabby McGrab Grab going here. And that should mean that we will end up capturing this guy. And we will... Well, we gotta go back and align ourselves again, come to think of it. But we should be docked really soon now. And we cannot quite dock to that because it's... If we target the center of mass, and we have to... We have to hope that that will get us stocked. And probably it won't. I'm hoping there's going to be something to grab onto. Yeah, it's... Well, wait a minute, are we? No, we're not docked. Okay, we're going to have to do this the difficult way. Oh no, we're drifting away. For some reason. But you know what? It'll be alright. Cause we'll get this guy docked in no time. Maybe, at least. This guy is supposed to be armed. But, you see, the problem is that there's not a surface I can grab onto. And that makes grabbing onto this asteroid hard. Oh, well, I guess I should have seen that coming. We'll have to try this one again. So let's see, we're gonna go up and we're going to go, oh, you know what, I can make this a bit easier to deal with here. Because that smooth portion there is what we might try docking to. It might help if we... Oh, don't decouple that. It's not what I want to do. I want you to arm. And let's see if we can at least get this guy going. Because ideally what I could do is I go here, target center of mass. I'll just do like that. And we'll get a little bit closer to this. And I will have to make the concerted effort not to let my impatience get the best of me this time. Because that is pretty much what killed me last time, is I was a little bit too impatient. I think we are actually going to do this. Cool, we are docked now. And that has a lot of really awesome implications for us. First of all, it means we can raise this periapse at least to something reasonable. But it also means we can collect the science we need, which that's the entire reason I came out here. Also, I'm going to rename this asteroid. I'm going to call it Asteroid Grabby McGrab after my little grabbing device. Now, we only have like 76 meters per second of delta V, but at the speeds we're coming in, that's actually not going to be a problem. Let's see, set as target. Now, we're in a near polar orbit, so I'm going to do a couple of things here. First, I'm going to put this guy in a 90-degree orbit, like he should be. And then I'm going to lower his periapse substantially. Or not his periapse, but his apoapse. Which we're at 89.3 right now. Yes, that periapsis is going to have to get lowered. Because truth be told, that periapsis is too high. Although, you know, we could use this thing to build a space station. We'll just send Bob out real quick to grab a sample. And in fact, we'll even go as far as to, I wonder if there's a crew report we can get here. We'll send out that data, get everything we can from it, because there we go. You know what, it's a shame when we take that sample. Yeah, now we're talking. But we'll go ahead and we'll get this guy in position, even though the center of mass is not appropriately set. Okay, so now we are back here trying to get our periaps lowered. We're going to do a aero braking procedure here. As you can see, we have quite a while to go. I'm just right now I'm trying to stabilize this periapsis some. At least I think that's what I'm trying to do. I think I'm actually raising the periapsis, and then I realize at some point that maybe I've gone a little bit too far, or maybe that well, it looks like what I'm trying to do here is actually get ourselves circular, and it doesn't appear to be working. So what I've done instead here is I'm lowering this periapsis back down to aero braking distance, and we're just going to go on through here, and what we'll do is do several passes through the atmosphere. It turns out that this first pass is a little bit too low for us. So, I'm sitting there gathering a little bit of science here, and I'm just going to lower that apsis a bit to maybe 45, and we're going to do some low passes over Kerbin. And it's worth noting here that I'm doing a lot of time acceleration. The video itself is sped up 8 times so that this doesn't take forever, because this is a rather difficult it's not difficult, it's just time consuming, this maneuver here. So we're going to go ahead and looks like I raised my apsis a little bit. I felt like I was descending a little bit too steeply. That wasn't quite the case here. I probably could have gotten a better orbit if I had not done that. But I mean, the actual asteroid itself is so massive that it can be difficult to judge these things, because we definitely do not want to get this thing onto the ground, even though we could get science from it, because as you may have observed, we can get science from each biome, from each science zone. So I was actually trying on a couple of these passes to get some more samples that we could use. But with that having been said, we've now got the task of waiting for our apoapsis to lower to an acceptable level. And I believe we've decided here that this is okay. This level that we've got. Either that or the atmosphere isn't soupy enough. And you'll notice that, oh yeah, we're just, right now, yeah, we're putting this thing in orbit, it looks like. So we are deciding that this is a decent deal, and we're going to use the remainder of the fuel here in order to, do some braking. It's about time for us to re-enter this atmosphere. We'll take our fill of... Oh, we are throttled up. We're gonna take a really steep trajectory here. There's not really going to be anything we can do about it, except maybe hope, as I'm hoping that we'll land somewhere relatively nice. And it looks like we may actually get something out of this, after all. Let's take a crew report. So we're actually getting other data out of this, which I rather like. But we'll just have ourselves an EVA report. Here, I guess I never grabbed that. Because we're over mountains of some kind. Let's just real quickly take a surface sample. And let's recover. Well, we did get a fair amount of science out of that, and that's going to be nice. I just want to check one thing before we go, because I think I may have forgotten something that would make this a whole lot easier. We go back to the dragon and take our gravity scan. As I recall, we needed somewhere around 30 or so. Let's just do our gravity scan. Yeah, that would have been helpful for me to do to begin with, instead of chasing down these asteroids. But on the flip side, we don't have to wait much longer to get these guys back. So that will probably be part of the next episode. That, and I'm sending a return crew as well, because that is you know a that's a rather um big deal. We want to be able to reuse this equipment, so we will do that, and I will ship this guy out. And to think we did this all because of the fact that I simply lost my probe bodies on my deal. But this has been Nylord Root, and I will see you later.